Second base was a pretty strong position this season. Let's talk about it next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Tuesday, October 19th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White, and let's take a look at Scott's top 12 at the position for next year, 2022. Let's start off with Trey Turner, Marcus Semien, Ozzie Albies, Jose Altuve, Whit Merrifield, and Max Muncy. It's worth noting these rankings are for 5x5, the Roto format. And I want to start off with Marcus Semien, Scott. Just like he's now finished as a top 20 overall player in Roto in 2 of the last 3 years. We've got to see where he lands. He's a free agent here, but I mostly buy him as an elite player as he's done it 2 of the past 3 years.
Yeah, and the 1 year that he didn't do it was the year that's hardly worth counting when it comes to for statistical purposes, because it was so short, too small of a sample to draw any major conclusions. So I'm with you, and we were both huge skeptics, Marcus Semien skeptics coming into the year, because that 2019 season seemed like such an outlier. But he proved us wrong. Power, obviously, setting the record for home runs by primarily a second baseman in a season with 45. Also, steals bases in the past has gotten on base at a good rate. And obviously, joining the Blue Jays, the different small parks that they called home this year, that helped him. But he actually hit the majority of his home runs on the road. So I don't know that we need to be so worried about him leaving for free agency. I do want to monitor where he goes, but it's the difference between him being a second or a third rounder next year, I think, where he winds up.
It definitely would affect the counting stats just because the Blue Jays were so ridiculous this past season. But that's the answer. Come on, Toronto. Just re-sign Marcus Semien. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Whit Merrifield, you have number 5 on this list, Scotty. How worried are you about the age? He will turn 33 years old in January. And really, the lack of power. I mean, he hit 9 home runs in the 60-game shortened season in 2020. Then he followed that up with only 10 home runs this past year. He played every single game this season.
Yeah, so in the past, we could count on him being a pretty good source of batting average and home runs. Not a good source of home runs, but not somebody who sets you back too far in that category either. And I think both of those are probably out the window now. He feels more one-dimensional as a steal source, which in 5x5 leagues, of course, is a big deal. It's a scarce category and a very necessary category. So he's going to go. I have him in my top 5 for Roto leagues, obviously. I have him lower in points, which makes sense. I mean, people don't have to sell out as hard for stolen bases in that format, but I actually think his skill set is more geared for points now. Still doesn't strike out much. Hits a ton of doubles, actually led the majors in that category this year. So, an interesting player where I feel like you're giving up too much to secure those steals early in a Roto league. And yet, while you don't have to invest as much in him as a points league, I actually like him more for points leagues next year. I actually feel like it's less of a sacrifice to have him as your starter in that format.
7 through 12 in your second base ranks: Brandon Lau, Ketel Marte, Javier Baez, Jorge Polanco, Jonathan India, and Jake Cronenworth. Ketel Marte quietly had a really good year. 318 batting average, 14 homers, a 909 OPS. The problem is he only played 90 games, and he has missed 39% of his possible games over the last 2 seasons. So I like the player, Scott, but he has dealt with a lot of injuries recently.
Yeah, there were injuries this year, but I definitely come away encouraged from his 2021 season, because it was sort of like Marcus Semien, where he had this huge breakout in 2019, unlike anything we've ever seen from him before, and then took a pretty big step back in 2020. You wondered if that was legit. You wondered if switching the baseballs this season and the dead end baseball, if it would really make that 2019 season impossible to repeat. And and in both Semien's case and Marte's case, I think they bounced back to the kinds of players they were in 2019. You mentioned the 909 OPS for Ketel Marte this year. 14 home runs, but that obviously was in a very shortened season. You see 25 homer potential there for him still, in addition to the high batting average. You wish he played in a better lineup, but I think I think Ketel Marte is, not maybe not the top tier at the position, but part of a very deep second tier that includes a lot of good options like Jose Altuve and Max Muncy and Brandon Lau.
Last one I'll quickly ask you about. Jonathan India just finished as a top 10 second baseman as a rookie. 20 seconds or less. Are you buying him?
Yeah, I'm buying him, especially if you look at his last 4 months. You throw April out, you throw May out because he was adjusting, and the production looks really strong. 5-category production, even better in points leagues where you get the walk rate.
For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. If you enjoyed the pod, please leave a 5-star review on Apple. We'll be back again on Thursday. Bye-bye.